So here is the plan for this talk. I'll make a few introductory remarks from a selected text, and then I will give my interpretation from that text, and then I will give some talks about how this text might apply to our lives today, 800 years after it was written. Okay? The talk I am given is based on an article called "The Three Realms Are Only One Mind" by the monk Dogen, and in his collection of writings, the Shōbo Genzo. So for those of you who may be new or not here for a long time, please let me give a bit of introduction, and for the rest of you that already know this, my apologies. Our style of Zen, which is the Soto style of Zen, was brought to Japan from China in the 13th century by the monk Dogen. Dogen had studied in Japan, was Japanese, and was not satisfied with the teachings, and so he traveled to China, a very arduous and perilous undertaking in the 13th century, and studied there and brought back the teachings which form the basis of our style of Zen, Soto Zen. And he was a profound thinker and philosopher, and he left a great body of writings. The major collection of these writings is called the Shōbo Genzo, the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. And so this year at the Zen Center, as an undertaking, we are working our way through the Shōbo Genzo, one chapter at a time. So each Dharma talk this year refers to one article from the Shōbo Genzo. It may be an in-depth explication, or it may just be a passing in reference, but for every week we will refer to one article. Oh, just for fun, these articles are called fascicles, which has driven me crazy, and I finally looked it up. A collection of writings that are not meant to be bound together, but then are joined in one book, are called fascicles, from the root to bind together. So that's why it's not chapter 41, it's fascicle 41. Because Dogen was not writing these with the idea that they would be one comprehensive text. All right. So I will be speaking about fascicle 41. The three realms are only mind. There are several translations of the Shōbo Genzo. We can talk about that in question and answer if you want. In the translation of the Soto Zen Project, which I will be primarily using, it's chapter 41. If you're using the Nishijima Cross, it's 47. If you're using the Kaz Tanahashi, it's 48, but it's in there. Okay, before I begin directly with the writing, I would like to consider a few preliminary tips for reading Dogen. Some of you may be inspired by what we're doing here to look at Dogen, and so here's some things that may help you dive into that. First of all, Dogen assumes that his readers are educated in the basics of 13th century Japanese Buddhism, and so he will use terms and assume that you know them. He'll make lots of references to other texts, and he will assume that you know them. This is not to show off or to prove how brilliant it is. It's the same way if I were writing a book now and I mentioned the Alamo, I would assume everyone reading my book would know who the Alamo was or who Bill Clinton was. And particularly if I was writing for a bunch of Presbyterians, I would assume they know what predestination is, and I wouldn't have to explain it. So Dogen is going to use some technical terms and reference certain texts and just assume that anyone reading his work will be familiar with those. So could footnotes help, or be willing to Google a little bit to look some of these things up. Number two, Dogen has written a lot, wrote a lot, and there are certain themes and phrases that recur throughout his writings. And so reading one single fascicle can be intimidating. If you read several of them, you'll start to say, oh yes, he said that before. Oh yes, he said that before. And they'll start to make sense as you see how he uses these phrases and the context in which he uses them. And finally, Dogen is not explaining these. These aren't like beginning statistics lectures that I used to give. He's trying to impart a worldview that is beyond language. And that can be very frustrating. You You want to say, well, why don't you just say what you mean? Just say it. But he's not. He's trying to get you to see the world a certain way, and a way that cannot be put into words. Okay, he's trying in every way he can think of to say something to you that he thinks is very important. Okay, and finally, before we turn to the fascicle, I want to remind you that Dogen is a very deep and a very subtle thinker, very inventive with his use of language, and intermixes, takes Japanese words and takes them apart and puts them back together and uses them in new ways. And so it's impossible to say of a single statement of Dogen, well, what Dogen means here is, there are usually multiple interpretations, and I think that this is deliberate. Okay, Dogen is not going to let you pin down a meaning. At any time he thinks you are, he's going to jump on you with both feet. Okay, he will say things, and then a paragraph later, he will say the sky is blue, and then a paragraph later say, some people say the sky is blue, but these people are fools and not Buddhists. You get used to it. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you is what I have found in this fascicle, and I might be wrong. I don't think I am, but I might. But even if what I say is right, it's only partly right. There are many other approaches that you can take, and even if you're going down the road I am, there's much, much more to say. Okay, now, let's turn to the fascicle itself. The three realms are only one mind, or in other translations, the triple world is only the mind, or the three realms are inseparable from mind. It's open to translation. So, let's start with the title. What are the three realms? Although we don't talk about it much in Zen, Buddhism has a very rich and a very detailed cosmology, which descriptions of the universe, of heavens and hells. It will tell you exactly how many hells there are and exactly how geographically they are laid out and which ones are to the left, which ones are, okay? So there is, we don't use it a great deal, but there is a vast cosmology, okay? And in this cosmology, the three realms are the realms in which human beings can be born. They are the realm of suffering, or the realm of desire. The second is the realm of form, and the third is the formless realms. And there's other realms, but if you're born in those, you're not human. These can be used in other ways. Sometimes they are the past, present, and future. But the good news is it doesn't really matter. The three worlds is just a conventional phrase, and it means all of human experience. Okay? So everything that as a human being you can experience is contained in the three realms. Okay? Everything. Cats, dogs, trees, wars, people, everything. And the mind is the mind that we all know. It's the thinking, feeling, rejoicing, grumbling. All of those things are mind. Now it's going to get a little more complicated than that. Buddhists have been sitting and studying the mind for 2,500 years, and they are drawing on traditions older than that, much older than that. So when we talk about the mind, we're talking about the mind as it has been observed and analyzed for many thousands of years. So there may be some things show up that we didn't expect. Right? But we will get to it. So the title tells us that the exterior world of things, of chairs and altars and ceiling fans, is really the interior world of the mind, with our hopes and our dreams and our ambitions. What on earth might such an assertion mean? Well, one thing it might mean is that there is no external reality, that the mind is in fact everything. This is a philosophy known as idealism, and there are Buddhists that teach this, and there are Western philosophers that teach this as well. It doesn't have to, but this approach can denigrate the physical world. If I go to my doctor and I say I have headaches and an upset stomach and I'm nervous all the time, and the doctor says, that's all in your mind, I'm going to feel dismissed, right? If he says it's in my mind, then, well, he's saying it's not real. There's nothing physically wrong with me. It's all just in my mind. Okay, so To say that everything is in the mind is idealism, and spoiler alert, Dogen soundly rejects this, okay, as Buddha did, in fact. Another interpretation is that external reality and the mind are both real, but that the world as we interpret it is created by the mind. So we do perceive reality. We perceive colors, movements, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, sounds. But the mind then organizes these perceptions into the world we know. The mind, given all these raw sensory input, constructs cats and dogs and cars and trees from this flow of sensory experience. And so the fact that a certain set of perceptions gets called a dog is a mental construct, not a part of the physical world. Someone else, maybe a Martian, maybe someone from a different culture on our planet, might take the same sense experience and organize it differently. And I actually think this is true, but I don't think it's what Dogen is talking about in this fascicle. So, that's what it doesn't mean. What does it mean? Let's turn then, finally, to the fascicle itself. It consists of 3 quotes from the Buddha and a traditional story. I'm going to focus on the first of the quotes, a little reference to the others, and maybe the next time we go through Shōbo Genzo, we'll get around to the traditional story, which is about what do you call a chair. All right. All of these have commentary, so let's start. Here's the first quote. The 3 realms are only one mind. Outside the mind, there's no other Dharma. The mind, the Buddha, and living beings, these 3 are without distinction. Okay. Outside the mind, there is no other Dharma. Dharma's a tricky word. It can mean the teachings of Buddha. So this is a Dharma talk. It's supposed to be about the teachings of Buddha. But it also just means the things of the world. You will sometimes see the phrase, the 10,000 Dharmas. And the 10,000 Dharmas are just rocks, walls, tiles, pebbles, cats, dogs. So the 3 realms are only one mind. Outside the mind, there is no other Dharma. The mind, the Buddha, and living beings, these 3 are without distinction. What does Buddha say about this? What does Dogen say about this quote? Dogen emphasizes the passage as, quoting Dogen now, the 3 realms are only mind, spoken by the Tathagata, the Buddha, is the whole manifestation of the whole Tathagata. The whole of his lifetime is the whole of this single line. He then explains that the triple world is all there is. The inside, the outside, the in-between, the beginning, middle, and end, all are the 3 realms. What is seen here is precisely the 3 realms. The 3 realms are as they are seen. There's nothing else. There's no other place. There's no other realm. There is no hidden reality behind this reality. So the 3 realms are only mind, spoken by the Tathagata, is the whole manifestation of the whole Tathagata, the whole of his lifetime in a single line. So Buddha taught for 40 years, and it all can be boiled down to that one teaching, the 3 realms are only one mind. And now I've told it to you, so I'm done, I guess. And now you've heard it, so now you know everything the Buddha taught. So we can go have tea. Maybe not. Maybe not. In particular, Dogen says he, that is the Buddha, now this is a quote from Dogen, is not saying the 3 worlds are merely mind. So here he is explicitly rejecting the idealist position. The 3 worlds are not contained in mind. There is nothing outside the 3 worlds. If the 3 worlds were contained in mind, then there would be something outside of the 3 worlds. Okay, but there's not. The 3 worlds are the mind are the 3 worlds. So in a sense, the mind is all that there is, but in a sense, the 3 world is all that there is. They are the same thing. And that means mind is bigger than we normally think. Dogen says it is fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles. It is mountains, rivers, and the whole earth. Mind is skin, flesh, bones, and marrow. Mind is holding up a flower and breaking into a smile. So, I think of mind as I'm worried about doing my taxes or whatever. I'm worried about this. I'm hoping for that. But when Dogen speaks of the mind, he speaks of something vast, of something that includes everything. Okay? And in that sense, there can only be one mind, as the title indicates. So the mind of this fascicle is bigger than our own individual minds. Now, the mind, the three realms, and the Buddha are all the same. But this does not mean that we see the world as it is. If I could naively think, okay, this is the Buddha. I look at you, I see the Buddha, I see the Buddha, I see the Buddha, so now I have seen the Buddha. But it's more complicated than that because we're not seeing the three realms as they are. And a related fascicle called mind here and now is Buddha. Dogen says, when stupid people hear talk of mind here and now as Buddha, they interpret that ordinary beings' intellect and sense perception. Okay, so they think that just sense perception is then the Buddha. Intellect and sense perceptions, which have never established the Bodhi mind. So I interrupted that, let me say it again. When ordinary people talk of mind here and now as Buddha, they interpret it that ordinary beings' intellect and sense perception, which have never established the Bodhi mind, are just Buddha. So the Bodhi mind is the mind of awakening, the mind that is seeking the truth. I know you have it because you're in this room. So you have awakened the Bodhi mind and it's brought you here. All right? If we do not have that Bodhi mind, just to see the whole world is not to see the Buddha. Okay, so the three worlds and mind are the same, whether we see it or not, but we may not see it. So those are the words of the Buddha, and those are some commentary from Dogen. Now we're going to talk about my interpretation of this. Okay? I hope it is helpful, but I will offer it. What can the three realms or only mind mean? Okay, they're obviously separate. The statement on the face of it is ridiculous. There is a chair. It's a physical object. It is a part of the three realms. And now there is me seeing the chair. The chair would be there if I was seeing it or not. So seeing the chair is clearly not the same as the chair. And if I look away, is the chair still there? I don't see it, but I'm assured the chair is still there. So my seeing the chair and the chair, how can that possibly be the same thing? All right. In our usual view of the world, it contains things, objects. And these things and objects move around in space and time. I could pick up a book, and I could move it somewhere else, and I could wait for an hour, and I could go look, and it's still the same book, even though that book as an object has moved through space and time. Now Dogen sees the world differently. Objects do not move through space and time. In fact, there are no separate objects. There is only a continuing flow of experience. And this flow is constantly changing. What we have is an unending stream of moments. And in this moment, I see something, and I construe that as a chair. And I look away, and I look back, and I see something that as I construe as a chair, and I conclude it is the same chair. That chair has moved through time. Dogen denies that one moment turns into another moment. And famously, he says, firewood does not become ash. Firewood is complete in itself, and ash is complete in itself. Each moment of our experience is complete in itself, does not depend on other moments. We can perceive only the present moment. All you see right now is what you see right now this second. We may remember the past, but we can only see ourselves remembering the past. We anticipate the future, but all we have actually is right now, this moment. Now, this particular moment may be the perception of a chair. There are not, in this moment, two separate things, a chair and a perception of a chair. There is only this one moment, this moment of chair perceiving. There's not a chair and there's not a perceiving of the chair. There is only this one moment, which is arising, which is a chair and perception of that chair at the same time. Okay. And in addition, this succession of moments, perceiving chair, perceiving tripod, perceiving Royce, perceiving altar, this succession of moments is what we are. It's not what we experience, it's what we are. I am, and you are, and we all are nothing but this stream of moments in this unending flow. There is a moment that arises of chair perceiving. It's all one thing. And I am not separate from that moment. There's not a moment and me observing a moment. There is a moment, and awareness is part of that moment. The chair is part of that moment. You cannot separate the two. It's all the same thing. The perceiving is a part of that moment. I am a string of moments. And this stream of moments is the triple world. To add me, a separate self that is perceiving these things, is to say there is something outside the triple world. But there's not. The triple world is all that there is. Okay? So I and the chair and the perception of the chair all arise together at once in a moment and will be placed in the next moment. We're all aspects of the same thing, the one moment. So I may not exactly be the chair, but the chair and I are both part of something. Me seeing the chair me seeing the chair and the chair are one aspect of the same thing. I would not say that heads and tails or a coin are the same thing. Big differences can hinge on whether it's heads or tails, but they are different aspects of a single thing. As Dogen says, the triple world here and now is the object seen as the triple world. And this object seen is seeing it as the triple world. So both in this moment there is the object and there is the seeing of the object. And they both arise together. The object and the seeing of the object are both the triple world. Well, this seems extraordinary, complex, and counterintuitive. I see a chair, there's a chair, now I don't see a chair. Why am I complicating this? Why is Dogen complicating this? Because the alternative view that I'm speaking of now is actually a very simple one and is what we actually experience. This is why Zazen, our formal meditation, is central to our practice. It's here in Zazen that we can carefully watch what is going on in our minds and our world. And what we actually experience is a succession of perceptions. And we arrange these as feelings, thoughts, perceptions, and objects. And let me remind you that may not know, in Buddhism, thoughts are something that we perceive. The mind is a sense organ. Seeing, hearing, smelling, taste, and touch, and the mind are the six senses. So these thoughts that we're having are just objects of our perception. Okay. Let's take a deep breath. What does this mean to our lives? How do we take this from a scripture study to our actual experience? Okay. Lesson number 1. The world is real. Okay, this seems obvious. But Zen students sometimes continually hear the world is empty. It's like a flash of lightning across the sky. It's like the mountain dew. It's like a dream. A consequence of this misunderstanding comes from a book of equanimity, a collection of Zen stories, and it's a story that goes as, a young man, Gensha, is out fishing with his father when his father falls into the sea. Gensha tries to save his father but cannot. In despair, he becomes a monk. Some years later, he decides to go on a pilgrimage and widen his practice. As he's leaving the monastery, he stubs his toe very badly, and he thinks, if everything is empty, where does this pain come from? At that moment, he awakens and returns to his monastery. His teacher, Seppo, asks him why he is back, and Gensho replies, "Please don't kid me," by which he means, I can't be fooled anymore. Okay? And Seppo is pleased. Okay, whatever the exact translation of this, and there are several, what is this about? What has he been deceived by? I like to fill in the story a bit in my imagination. I'm going to add some things that aren't in the story, but I'll put them there and they help it make sense. Gensha is a young man who has experienced a great personal tragedy. As a result, he has entered a monastery, but for some reason, I think his practice is not going well. So he thinks he needs to leave the monastery and go other places to see what he can study. He feels that something is missing from his practice. On his way out, he stubs his toe and it hurts. Now, he's been taught and he believes that everything is empty, so why does his toe hurt? If he had been a lesser student, he might have said, well, everything's not empty. This hurts. I see that things are not empty, and just returned to being a fisherman. But he was a good student, and he said, the teaching isn't false. I have misunderstood the teaching. It is real. The world is real. Mind and world are the same thing. The world is mind. The world is empty, but it is still real, and pain is real. I think that Gensha may have been using his practice to hide from the pain of losing his father, to dull that pain, to say, it's not real, the pain is not real. And that's an avoidance of true practice. And in this moment, Gensha saw, no, pain is real. Practice is not to avoid pain. Practice is to understand, confront, and experience pain. Okay. So we do not minimize, we do not denigrate pain. Okay? Our lives matter. When Gensha sees this, he sees through the way he has been deceiving himself. He can no longer be deceived. The second lesson is that there is no other world but this one. There's no hidden reality. There's no spiritual realm. There is right now this moment. Maybe this is disappointing. I want magic. I want wonder. I want mystery in my life. But what I have is the checkout line at Kroger, or my income taxes, or Houston traffic. We've deceived ourselves. We've grown up and tell ourselves that magic and mystery are for children. What is real is taxes and lines and traffic, and they are the world, and they are. But this world is magical and mysterious. You don't have to go to another realm to have that. Watch the world unfold and see the wonder of the world right now. Here in this world, and not in some other realm or some other time, is where we can have peace and joy. And the final lesson is that we are the universe. We can feel as though the universe is separate from us, mechanical, perhaps even hostile, perhaps worst of all, indifferent. The universe just doesn't care about us. But we are the universe. From one point of view, we are our separate selves, but from another, we are one with the universe. What a cliche, what a joke. Make me one with the universe. But it's true. It became a cliche because it is true. You are not separate from the universe. You are not alienated from the universe. So what can we take from this fascicle? The world is real. We are real. We belong in this world, and we are the world. Our lives and all lives matter deeply. What we do in each moment is important because this is what the universe is doing. Right here and now is what we can and must live and act. There's nowhere else to do these things. We do not live in a world of magic and wonder. We only need to stop deceiving ourselves. And that's the first portion of the fascicle. There's a lot more. We're not going to do it now. But what I would like to do is end with the final quote from the Buddha, which Dogen then discusses extensively, but I think we can just take this final quote from the Buddha at face value and leave with it. Great Master Sakya said, "Now, these three realms are all my property, and all the living beings within them are all my children." So I wish you a good day, children of Buddha, my brothers and my sisters.